I remember a situation. I was in middle school, and all the schools were locked down at the time. This was my introduction to Sheriff Grady Judd. All the schools were locked down at the time. I believe there was a manhunt for a guy that had killed a K-9 and one of your police officers. And we didn't really know what was going on. They locked us down and they kind of kept everything quiet, and then I found out about everything later on. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately you found the guy, and then we heard about how he died. One thing I remember is the quote that came out from you when they asked you, because I believe it was 68 shots let off into the guy. And they asked you why 68 shots. A lot of people are like, well, the guy killed police officers, he deserved it. Then you have another side that's like, oh, maybe it's overkill. But then your response was, we would have shot him more if we had more bullets.
Right. That was probably the quote that put me on the map. Mm-hmm. So what occurred that day, and you know, it's a little depressing to me, by the way. If you were in middle school, that means you've grown up and I've grown old, right? But it was my, I think, second year as the sheriff. I'd worked for the sheriff's office my entire adult life, but it was my second year as the sheriff. And in fact, on that particular day, I was home packing to go on vacation. And I had packed, I got up real early and I had packed, and we were going out west. I'd always wanted to go to Wyoming. And so I laid down to take a nap. And my dad, who lived at the other end of the property, is beating on the windows. Mm-hmm. And I woke up. My wife wasn't home, and she was out running errands, getting everything together before we went on vacation. And I looked, and there was my dad beating on the window. I going, what are you doing? He said, son, wake up. They've shot one of your boys. And that's how I learned about it, because I had laid down to take a nap. And so anyway, long story short, the vacation was off, and I ran to the scene. And I learned that we had stopped a car simply for speeding. And then the guy didn't have a driver's license. And then he ran from us into the woods. So we called for a K-9. As the K-9's tracking, he had a gun. He shoots and kills the K-9. He shoots and kills the K-9 deputy. He shoots the backup deputy. And by now we're calling for help in securing a perimeter. The Lakeland police officers came out to help, and he shot at two of them. Fortunately, he missed the two of them. Mm-hmm. So we had a manhunt through the night. And the next morning, as we had SWAT team members walking shoulder to shoulder, because it's very thick underbrush, very thick underbrush, he pointed not only a gun, but the dead deputy's gun at a SWAT team. And of course, in like a second and a half, there's a lot of shots. Well, it doesn't take much understanding to see if you point a gun at a SWAT team, you're going to get shot a lot. Mm. So it's now the weekend, and the phone rings, and I think it's one of my fellow sheriffs. It turns out to be the Orlando Sentinel reporter. And he goes, we just got the autopsy where your guys shot this guy 68 times. Mm-hmm. And what would you say? And I said, well, I guess we ran out of bullets. So, but I went on to explain to him that this guy was very violent. He was very dangerous, and we weren't taking any more chances. Yeah. He'd already killed a K-9, killed a deputy, shot and tried to kill another deputy, and tried to kill two Lakeland police officers. Mm-hmm. You know, he could have given up peacefully, but he didn't. He chose that outcome, and he chose it, and we obliged him. So that's how that all came about. And of course, the bottom line to it is we did follow-up investigation later on, and we learned that he was a hitman, that the narcos, organized narcotics people, would hire him to go collect debts or kill people. Wow. So he was a hired assassin. And that day he just decided that he was not going to be arrested for no valid driver's license. That's the most he could have been charged with, was a misdemeanor. and he turned it into that horrible day.